Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today is going to be a fun video because, I've always stated with the Vengeance team specifically is that if you cannot die, they can never win, right? Because you will eventually kill them through the whole Vengeance mechanic. And with, the Raphael ceiling and the guard and all the defensive skills, it's very easy to clear all the stages. But there is one other special team that also has a very, very strong defensive mechanic. And by defensive mechanic, I mean they're frigging invincible. And that is the Idol Master meta, the Idol collab, the Pretty Sparkle team, as shown, right here. So if you didn't know that Slime did a collab with the Idol Master, it happened in December of 2023, and it certainly was something because there are Idolmaster collabs out there or fans out there. I'm not one of them, and I was very not excited for this, but they brought one very interesting mechanic with the Idol Rimuru, and that is the ability to make all Pretty Sparkle characters invincible for one turn. You cannot take damage. Like the guard and the seal and everything from Vengeance Raphael, it's like you'll take 1 damage. 100 damage. No, you literally don't take anything here. So, we're going to make a video about us not taking damage, or, well, attempting to not take damage, in Inferno 3 beatdown battle, where if you go longer than, 10 turns, he starts to hit very, very hard. But with this team, we'll be pretty set, because we've got Rimuru. He also, in case you didn't know, he stacks 12% magic attack every single time you use him. We've got a team full of magic characters. We have Dark Milim as our DPS character. He also passively resets skills by 10 points every turn. So if you use Veldora's green buff, right? It's 25 points, and it lasts for 2 turns. Okay, well, you use it, it goes up to 45. If you leave him in, though, the next turn, Rimuru will bring him back down to 35. And if you leave him in for 2 turns, it'll go back down to 25. And so forth and so forth. So every skill will get their cost reduced after you use it over time. And he's a very, very good stacking green protector, alongside the live mode buffs we're going to have for Mirai and Shizuka, plus the stacking weakness strike, plus the stacking alt resistance down, plus the stacking magic attack, plus Idol Shuna's synergy, plus Milim's own alt buff and, attack buff. This stage is going to be really bad for the first, I think, 11 turns because greens are nerfed. After that, it's fine. So I pre-recorded this because this took a long time to do. So let's just go ahead and pop that up. Alright, obviously I won't make you sit here for the entirety of this 20-minute clip because there's no reason to. We'll just show how the beginning of it works. We don't have an orb changer for the blues. We do have a lot of turn 2 protection trait. Mirai has it, Earth Jean underneath her has it, and then Fire Shuna has Fire Violet. So we have 3 units that are giving us turn 2 protection trait, and we really have to lean into that. So you pretty much always want to have those characters up front every 2 turns to maximize your protection gauge, because for the first 11 turns of this fight, the greens are nerfed. We've got the Veldora 70% buff. That's great. The charm that we have on Rimuru is the protection gauge on Green's charm, so that's another 40% right there. That we still need more to, reliably use Rimuru to protect ourselves. So we're going to take damage in the first couple turns. He's got the barrier, but here it's like we're invincible. Veldora's not, because he's not on Pretty Sparkle. Not a big deal, but you also see that his cost is now 35 points instead of the 45 that it was when we used it last turn. And if we leave him in again, it'll go back down to 25. And that's pretty much how we're going to have to play this entire thing. But we're going to swap him out because I want Idol Shuna up here, because again, it's turn 4 next turn. I want that free protection gauge, because right now we wouldn't have it. But when those traits kick in, we will have a Protector Shuna, or Protector Idol Rimuru. But we don't really need it because we use the future hand of greens. But I do want to continue to stack. Milim unfortunately doesn't have protection gauge every 2 turns. She's got skill points every 2 turns, which is fine and dandy and all. But we do want to leave her up front as much as possible because I need those stacks. And we also want the live mode, which, in case you didn't know what live mode is, it enhances green orbs to where every time you send a green orb, you get a permanent 2% attack stack. And that lasts for the entirety of the fight. So if you send a full hand of greens, that's another, what, 12% right there? 12% attack, plus the 12% magic attack that we're getting from Rimuru. You can see why this team will do lots of damage, because we're stacking a lot. We're also invincible. So we're going to continually do more and more and more and more damage, even though we're running a magic team, which is nerfed, even though we don't have any physical characters, even though we only have one dark unit. We will eventually, you know, break the barrier to where those debuffs just straight up do not matter, because we're going to do way too much damage. And the barrier, yeah, we don't have a good way to deal with that except kill it, which takes 3 turns to do, if you're sending full hands, which you should be. So, honestly, like, alts for the first 12, 13 turns mean absolutely nothing. You just want to make sure that you're stacking on Milim as much as physically possible. You're using your traits to make sure to get maximum protection gauge, and you're using the live mode stacks from Shizuka and Mirai to peak efficiency, while also maintaining your skill resetting abilities by having characters that you use a lot always up front. Now, when we skip ahead, there will be times where we are not able to apply invincibility, or there are times where I want Veldora up front because I want his skills reset. Like right here, he's got the barrier up, he's got an ult, and it's not really what I want to do. Like, I don't want Veldora to take any unnecessary damage right here, because, you know, I don't want them to die. We're going to swap him out for Mirai, therefore making sure that, or we're going to swap him out for someone, making sure that everybody up front is invincible. And that's going to become very, very necessary once we get into the very, very late stages of this fight, because Benimaru continually stacks his light attack and his AoE damage, right? Eventually, he will just one-shot somebody when you go deep enough, and that's not what you want to do. So we're sending the ults. He's got a barrier for 3 more turns. Like, the ults literally don't matter, so you might as well send them. There's no point in trying to save them until you break a shield, he gets those extra debuffs, and then you're free to damage him. So we're invincible right there. Let's skip ahead a couple turns to turn 10. Yeah, let's actually, I think there's a turn where we actually take an ult. So, maybe not here. But anyways, so the greens now on turn 11 are no longer nerfed, which means that we're using Veldora's green buff is not as big of an issue, because we still have that 40% protection charm from Rimuru. It's just we do have it active right now, and we can really get points, and we can really get protection gauge, and that's very, very nice. And now it's just a matter of buffing our damage up and nuking when available, because at this point Milim has had 11 turns of stacking, you know, magic attack, normal attack, weakness, strike. And so if we were to, you know, buff her with the synergy, buff her with the ult, and then come back, she would actually do pretty good damage. It's just that you got to get to a point where you can kill, because Inferno 3 Benimaru has that 3-turn shield. So, I mean, if you have it up, there's 3 turns that are just gone. And, you know, it's going to take a while. You have to go 11 turns before the greens aren't even nerfed anymore. So things can get quite a bit rough, right? So cheeky counters mean absolutely nothing because we are invincible, so that's great, but we still have 2 more turns of a barrier. So, but the AoE, like, he just raises magic resistance right there. He continually stacks that up too. But you can outpace it if you have this team to where you don't really care what's going on. So right here, we're putting the synergy buff on Milim, and we're going to send her away, and we're going to save that for after we break the barrier in 2 turns, and then we'll have enough points when we come back to then use the ult buff on her, and then we can do okay damage. And this was not a super duper great run, right? I actually had a better run that we're going to cut to where I actually did nuke, and see, like, the damage Veldora took right there, that's significant. Like, if he takes off chunks like that every single time, and if you leave him up for an ult, like, they're going to die. At this point in the fight, 14 turns in, he's got a lot of stuff going on, and you do not want to leave any characters unprotected, especially when he has an ult, because they will straight up just disappear. They will just be obliterated into the dust. But we are going to break the barrier here, and so we'll come back on this next turn, and we'll have the points to then nuke with Milim, while having the alt buff and the synergy buff and whatever other stacks that we have available. Unfortunately, I would bring her in for Shizuka, but I want her buffs, or one of her buffs, so we're going to do this instead. So alt buff, we're going to do the live mode buff, because it's a double stack, it's alt resistance down on the enemy, plus the 10% attack buff that we'll get right here, because it activates before sending everything. So we'll send this, and Milim does 628k. You know, it's not great, but again, we're doing 628k. We pierced there, unfortunately. But, I mean, look at that damage. Look how much health he just deleted from us, right? How much was that he actually did? I want to actually see that. Boom. He did 12,000. 13,000 against Milim because it was a pierce. So, turn 15, he's doing 12,000 a hit on an AoE. This is why you must be protected at all times. Because if you take two of those, if you take an ult like that, everyone will die. But let's go ahead and come back now for the actual nuke turn, which is many, many turns after this, and we can see what we've built up Milim to. Okay, we are back on turn 24. 24. This is a different run because, you know, the health bars and everything. I mean, Shizuka does have the ability to heal 35% on her weakness strike buff, which will keep people nice and topped up if you let them. But this is, I must lead off, a different run that actually went a lot better. So we have one more turn of this barrier before we can, actually nuke him. We've already used the synergy buff on Milim. She's in the back. She's waiting for this to break. And then she will come in, and you can see the fruits of our 24-turn labors. And it's nothing to scoff at. Still invincible right there, looking pretty good. And now we're ready to go. So we'll bring Milim in for probably Shuna, because she's got the most orbs anyways. Not that it's going to matter. We've done a lot of damage to Benimaru already because of the stacking alts that we've done. Like, we have nuked him at least one time before this at full power, and we've taken off a good chunk. And there's the heal kicking in for Shizuka. So let's take a look at what we've got going on after we use this final stack of Rimuru. Which, if we didn't kill here, everyone would still be invincible. So we've got 184% attack, 209% magic attack, and then 180% weakness strike. We have been stacking for a long time, 25 turns. That is a lot of power right there. Plus, we've got the guaranteed synergy and synergy power. Plus, we've got her own attack buff from her own buff, her alt buff skill. Because she is skill fused, she gives 25% attack now. She has 70% alt damage. And then if we look at Benimaru, we've also been stacking things on him. We've got 90% alt resistance down, and then his debuffs from breaking his shield. But you can see, he's got 330% light attack. 200% AoE attack, and that's why he deletes your health bars if you are wide open and you're not invincible pretty much every turn. And he also has 160% magic resistance, which is a lot, like a lot. But we are offsetting that because we have our own magic stacks. So let's see how much damage we do on this Milim nuke with all of this raw power stacked up for 25 turns. And it's actually pretty funny. I'm going to send one Milim Orb just to see. 98k on a guard. And the nuke does 3.3 million damage. And remember that Inferno 3, he has just shy of 4 million HP. So even if he was at full, we would have almost killed him. He would have had 600,000 left over, which is still a lot of health. But, I mean, 3.3 million on a magic character is really good, considering that no one's dead, right? No one's dead. No one has died in this run. And we're on turn 25. So that is the power of the Idolmaster team. You know, it's not a super great team, but it is a very funny team. And again, the whole logic applies to where if you can't die, you will kill them eventually. Right? The off-brand Vengeance team that I showed earlier in the previous video, that was like turn 10 or turn 19 or something like that. Now we're on turn 25, but the whole point is that we haven't died. So if you have access to the idols and you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this Inferno 3 stage, then here's your proof. You can do it. You just need some patience. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy. Hopefully you enjoyed this fun video, and I'll see you all later.